Coming at you live, that's right. I have to do live shows from now on. You know what? Don't ask me why. I'm the inept adept. That's right. Ooh, I gotta wipe the crusties out of my eyes. Yeah! Ugh. Here's how I'm living. Like this. This is what I eat. That's my food for the day. And I get powdered. Shut up. I hope this doesn't blow on the thing. I get powdered coffee drink. I'll never get it again, but I bought it. It was $5, and I can't take it back, so I'm stuck drinking it. And that's the life that you have to live. Number one, if you're a true artist, you might run out of money if you don't have a Patreon. Why do you think they have a company called Patreon with Patreons? And by the way, I tried to, I got the hots for this chick. Boy, I tell ya. She like blocked me on Patreon, blocked me on all social media. So that's when you got to walk away and know that, you know, what are you going to do? They're not interested. But again, I like smart women, and, you know, again, it's so gross. Oh, sorry, sorry, okay. Maybe we'll start over. I was hoping to have this sensible, you know, people like this who actually had melody. Steve-O brings up Gorilla Biscuits. I mean, like, that's hardcore. And that was a difference. Like, my band had some hardcore songs, but we had some punk songs. You know, and I was more interested in melody. And back when I was writing songs, Green Day didn't exist. I worked with Mark Core, the director of the Green Day videos, but I worked with him on a Joan Osborne video in the 90s. I was a production assistant. I have stories about everything, and I can go all day. You know me. I can do a show. I can do a 2 to 3 hour show. But who's listening? Oh, sorry. That's gross. We watched them lick a spoon today. It was terrific. So anyway, let's talk about my project a little bit. It's called Linoleum Blown Apart. I'd like to get people like Fred Armisen interested in this. It's the story. I got to go over it every day to try to keep me on track. Keep me off of stuff like Neuralink. I apologize for my other shows. If I got too far afield, take me to task. Take me to task in the comment section. That's fine. Okay? But it's about a punk rock kid who has the same birthday as Napoleon. And there's another band in the scene. There's a bigger band called the Heretical Sons, and they got their name from one of Walter's films. Okay? And by the time the bands are out, it's the 80s, and Walter hasn't made a film since the 1960s, all right? Which was Bonaparte Bon Ami. Right? So he has the same birthday as Napoleon, and that gives him the idea of the powdered wigs, kind of like Darby Crash when he went over and saw Adam and the Ants over in England, and then he came back. That was a great film about the germs. I really liked it. It had, what's her name? Everybody hates her now. Bijou Phillips was in it. I like her sister, Busy Phillips. Bijou. I still like Bijou Phillips. She worked in a film called, what's it called? Black and White, right? James Toback, I believe. I talk about him a lot. A lot of people that I talk about, they're canceled people. Okay, what I do is I separate the art from the artist, and I'm finding that a lot of people aren't able to do that. Again, I've been victimized by cancel culture. Oh well, you see, I still get up every day. I'd show you my stuff, but I can't touch my my camera setup. Okay, I am underneath the Bodhi tree, right? Whatever kind of tree it is. And, you know, I was the one to tell you about the passage in the Bible. Well, when you feel ashamed. When do you feel ashamed? Eating from the tree of the garden of, eating from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You can use your sexuality to look at his mother Mary was a virgin, and they had Mary also was the prostitute, right? And I think there's also a metaphor for stoning people, okay? Whether they actually stone people or not, I'm not here to argue with that. But I'm saying another rich metaphor for stoning somebody is bringing them back. It would be like cancel culture, right? Because you're using your your mind, and you want to participate in the gnosis. You seek knowledge, right? And so that's a metaphor for your own tablets, your own emerald tablets, your own going from a rough-hewn stone to a polished gem. You're trying to, at the end of your life, you want to be a polished gem, right? And you want to try to get there as soon as possible before your life takes that turn and you start going downhill. So another metaphor for stoning people would be like cancel culture, like, hey, this person doesn't know what they're talking about. Come back with us. Come back with us. Don't follow the Christ. Come back with us, right? Okay? So you have that metaphor as well, and that's what's so great about how it was written, because you have the literal, and you also have the hermeneutics and the esoteric portion of that rich text, right? Ooh, boy. That's like powder on the top of my drink is like food to me. What are you gonna do? And again, if I'm canceled, I'm canceled. Well, I said you have to kill me, and that's the only thing that'll stop me. That's the only thing that should stop anyone. And cancel culture is part of accelerationism, and the right winning the meme war, hands down, is also part of accelerationism. So, looky, you're both participating in the same thing. You're both pushing us forward into a future that you're not even questioning. You're not even taking the time to question about, like, hey, whoa, where are we going with this? Slow down. Let's slow down a little bit. Where are we going with this? Well, where we're going is, what is it? Commercially available information. That's what the government has been buying up. It's CAI, and that's what they're saying that they're using for blackmail. And what people don't understand is that you can blackmail anybody. It doesn't have to be a person of renown. It doesn't have to be A through Z lister. Okay, I'm double A behind Z when you list me, right? You can blackmail anybody. That's why I wrote a book called Two-Legged Animal. I'm an old punk rocker. I didn't listen to Gorilla Biscuits. That's New York Breakdown hardcore. That's the stuff that's on Disconnected Records. Okay? I was playing more melodic stuff. Okay? And I was playing stuff before I knew Green Day existed. Okay? Those songs are always in the playlist under Linoleum Blown Apart now. I had everyone in my band, they glommed on to cancel culture because, Gordon, you're such a bad person. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm really a bad person. The worst thing I did was like 30 years ago. You gotta laud that over my head? Really? Oh, okay. Take a look at some of my old episodes, and you guys can get caught up to steam. They're a lot of fun to listen to. And what we do is we tap into my subconscious, and by doing that, we tap into a collective unconscious. And that's why I'm able to unravel mysteries, like a mystery trip about John Lennon being a drug smuggler. John Lennon shows up, doesn't have any songs written. What was he doing then? He was doing cocaine. Tony King knows it. A lot of people know it. And what was he bringing over? Just like in, what's that movie, Midnight Express? He wasn't bringing over hashish. He was bringing over opium, and opium could be broken down into heroin. And he could trade that opium for cocaine from people who I'm sure Tony King was getting it from. I don't want to implicate anybody. I'm not trying to. But if you look at the lyrics to John and Yoko, it is clearly about smuggling, okay? And they're smuggling bundles. And when I was in New York, a bundle was a bundle of heroin. That's what it's called. They were in glassines. It was heroin. So this is what I'm able to do right here on my show using this cognitive therapy, using psychotherapy as you, my audience, und as the doctor. Right? And don't forget, Sigmund Freud used cocaine, and he used it prolifically. When I was in Michigan, I didn't know anything about my wife using this weapon. It's a directed energy weapon that police officers use, and she brought it out of the country with her. So, hey, you know, whatever happens, happens. Like I said, you look at the DOJ. I contacted the DOJ, and it's right on my show. It's right in the community section, right? I talk about people participating in crimes and stuff like that right there, right? I on my other channel, Fallen Angelinos, I talk about Joey Bootboy. That was all fake. It was all set up, and that's what they do. It's all fakery, and people go along with it. Take a look at Jimmy Kimmel's show. He had live witness news. You go up to a person, you ask them about something, they're going to just start making things up, right? That's why police officers put a lot of people, innocent people, in jail, because they get them alone and they start hounding them. Hey, what's this? What's that? What's this? What's that? And the guy's like, yeah, but I went over here, and then I went over here, and then I went over here, and then I went over here. And then they take everything that he said, they rearrange the order, they cherry pick it, and then they create a case and they build a case around it. Okay, that's how the world works. Okay, that's why I was always staying out of trouble until I chose to get into trouble. And when I did, I made sure I wasn't a felon, right? And so there's that. So in my story, like I said before, it's about a punk rock kid. And for about 3 seasons, you're going to see this punk rock kid, and you're going to see the story of Walter, and they're going to intertwine. Then it's going to go to 1996, when he goes away, and they're going to use one of the songs. I haven't decided which one yet, but they're going to use the beat and a sample from one of his songs because he's a rock star. Now, there's a film with Toni Collette and Johnny Depp, okay? And it's very similar. He plays a Kurt Cobain-style guy who disappears. He writes an album, as everyone has the album. It's like, it's the greatest album of all time, alternative music album, bro. And Toni Collette dated the guy, and she's like, I wonder what happened to him, too. And she goes to find him, and of course, he's happy with a kid and a wife. That's what I wanted. Okay, once I got sober and I did the shadow work, because I think, listen, we have similarities and we have differences. And so I think when a man is raped and molested by another man, it's pretty brutal. And I'm not taking anything away from women being raped, you know, and molested, but it works on a psychologically different. Now there's similarities. Okay, we have to acknowledge the similarities, but we also have to acknowledge the differences. Okay, and it causes strange phobias to occur, especially in men. Okay, so again, I'm very comfortable talking about this stuff. Why? Can I say it every time? I'm Heinz 57. I'm 57 years old. I'm on the downward trajectory of my life, and I'm not going to allow somebody else to define me. So if you're going to call me a car thief, or you're going to bring up something from my past, well, then we don't have anything to talk about. Now, do we? If that's what I am to you, cool. If I'm a guy, I'd be like, yo, what happened with that car, bro? Tell me all about it. That's why I wrote a memoir. And I wasn't expecting people to, you know, pat me on the back, but I was expecting people not to be the phonies that they are. Okay? And I think this was important. I think it was important because I do talk about the Beatles. I just got done talking about the Beatles. The murder of John Lennon, that was about the song Come Together. Okay? Because he said, come on, flat top, we come moving up slowly. They're like, whoa, 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 dude, we can't, right? We can't use a Chuck Berry song. And so it was Paul who changed it, and it made it nice and muddy. And then later on, Aerosmith's like, yeah, I want to do this song, right? I love Jay Giles. I love Aerosmith. And I love all this early classic rock because at the age of 16, I buried myself into it, right? Because I had to. And then that's from the age of 8 years old until 16. That's 8 years. And then at 16, I threw it all away. I took all my records to Car City Classics. I sold and started buying punk rock, started buying Maximum Rock and Roll. Okay, I got into hardcore, hard, fast rules. I got into D-Beat, and I got into more new wave. Okay, and so this project that I'm working on, it's very complex, and you're going to weave in and out of time. And you're going to go into Walter's life who influenced the band the way I wrote a song about Stanley Kubrick. I wrote 2, actually. Okay? I created this concept when I had some free time finally on my hands. When my car was working and I got an office right over here on Wilshire Boulevard. And I was able to sit in this office. I got to watch a couple Tarkovsky films. Yeah, that influenced me big time. I'm a cinema guy. But don't forget, kids, guys are into video games. Okay? Guys are into video games. I'm not saying they don't do other things. They collect Funko Pops, apparently. Grown men collecting Funko Pops. Okay, guys? Come on. I mean, it's really, truly sad, but hey, whatever. I only had one toy, and I would love to tell you guys about it, but yeah, I don't want to keep you all day. So please share my show. Just please share it with a boomer, a Gen Xer, a Trad X, somebody who's, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, because we talk about core concepts here, okay? And we should be able to have anybody from any side of the aisle. Like I said, when I saw Gavin Newsom being interviewed by that old, dusty old Sean Hannity, it was one of the greatest things I ever seen in my life. He laughed in his face. And as an honest person, you know, I'm not strapping on a beret and changing my name to Shay and saying, oh, I hate this guy, and blah, 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 blah. We're honest, and that is part of the, you can't even say that anymore because it's connected to Mike Flynn. Now, Mike Flynn is the one who created the 17th letter Anon, and his brother Eric Flynn was running January 6th, and they used an algorithm for this. Okay, this is the same algorithm that Mark Zuckerberg wants you to fall in love with. Okay, it's the exact same algorithm. And that's why people are getting emotionally attached to these stories that don't mean a hill of beans when you're living outside this orthogonal view, right? And so you're going to take these media deep blue stories and you're going to project them out into the world around you. I already told you, I have a former friend of mine, we're no longer friends, telling me that he was afraid to leave the house because everybody outside his door is a... Are you thick? I mean, come on. And again, don't ever forget, the Electoral College picks the president. We don't even pick him. We're involved in a popularity contest. Oh, that's right. Just like online, it's a big popularity. Oh, just like in Michigan. Oh, here's a fist. Oh, I get it on both sides, the mitt and the fist. Boy, I tell you. Oh. I've had it with these people. We're developing our own nomenclature on the show. I'm talking about things that are way more relevant than a lot of these shows that I'm picking out, especially Steve-O's show. Okay, I like the guest, but who wants to talk, listen to that all day? I'm sorry. Look at Duncan Trussell on Theo Vaughn. Theo Vaughn's like, hey, man. Oh, boy, that's crazy. And Duncan Trussell's like, yeah, man, that's crazy, man. We've heard these guys a million times. I've been listening to Duncan Trussell for fucking 10 years. Dude. Who else, these comedy podcasts? Bert Kreischer on everybody's podcast, and then guess what happens? Next month, Bert Kreischer's on everybody's podcast again. Bobby Lee, over and over and over again. It's the same people. And it's really just ruining the scene, man. This is what I'm trying to say. Things are becoming, like, factionalized. So I'm getting out of this because I discovered that Neuralink... Tell me about the blueprints. I always say that. It's like, I hate that. What is that? Is that a hole? I can't see it. It looks like... Shut up. Now you're all gonna look at it. You know, I'm gonna take my marker and just color my skin, like with a marker. I can't see it. So sorry. And again, if you have anxiety, you have these idiosyncrasies, it's okay. It'll go away. If you want to smoke pot, if you want to talk to a doctor or a professional, you want to talk to a therapist, you want to ask them about Sigmund Freud's study enhancer, maybe they don't enhance you. That's your business, okay? And I don't judge people, but you can't allow drugs and alcohol to interfere with your work. I never wrote anything while I was drunk or high. Now, you might come up with a riff, just like Keith Richards came up with the riff to Satisfaction, and he was lucky that he recorded it, because he's probably nodding out just before he passed out, and he's like, oh, what was that riff? Right? And I do apologize. I kept saying lucid dreams. I wasn't having lucid dreams. I was having vivid dreams. And I've been having them all week long. And they're pretty intense and pretty strange. But that's okay. I'm using them, you know, in my creative endeavors. Sorry, I'm all hunched over. If I sat like that, you wouldn't see my... Oh, I'm looking spiffy. I'm not as spiffy as Lex Friedman. Anyway, I talk about the shows that I actually watch. Like I said, Fred Armisen would be great for this project that I'm working on now. It's called Linoleum Blown Apart. And I already told you the story behind it. Now, Walter has done 2 films. That's why I'm obsessed with Walter's life. The punk rock thing is already worked out. And I don't ever tell you about it because it's kind of funny. It's kind of cool. Yeah, you can only imagine what it's like. Just think about if you were into punk rock, what it was like for you as a teenager. And how exciting and vital and cool it was. And then we're going to cut back to Walter's life and see what's going on with him, and we're going to find these strange parallels. Because I've already come up with so many just creating this project. So Walter saves the entire studio. He makes them $1 billion or whatever, right? And it's 1950. And they ask him, what do you want to do? And he picks a Grabowski novel, and they're like, no, we hate this guy. I was like, with them. Now he's just a drunk woman, not womanizer, but he goes to brothels. He lives in a flop house. I stayed in flop houses in New York City back in the 90s. And that's why I made love to my former, whatever she is. Anyway, so that's why he wants to do it, because hey, what's up, Off Topic? Please subscribe to the Off Topic show. I'm going to try to stay off of it because he interviews creeps like me. But again, you need guys like him on the Off Topic show. You need him because he's showing the world, hey man, we got a problem here. Okay? He's not being a Karen with a K. He's caring with a C. Yeah, much love to you as well. Cheers. You know, he's caring. That's what a Karen is. He's caring about these people. And sometimes you got to take the mick out of them. And sometimes you got to ostracize them and point them out. Right? And show, hey, man. And I told you before, when you're homeless, it's because you don't have any friends or you don't have any family. And now you don't have anybody to tell you, hey, you're pushing it a little too far. You're pushing it too far, man. And then they push it even further. Oh, I'm not going to get arrested? Well, let me push it even further. I told you before, I watched a woman have a bowel movement on the sidewalk in front of McDonald's because there was a security guard inside McDonald's. Does that make any sense to anybody? Does that make any sense to anybody? And I think a lot of these cancel culture people, and I'm not trying to group people together, but once you get into this holier than thou attitude, right? Who cares? Just please subscribe to Off Topic show. It's a great show. So listen, let me talk about this project a little bit. So we have Walter, and he wants to do this quintessential American film based on a book by Grabowski, who's just like this low-down drunk. And the reason he wants to do it is because he's like, you told me I could do whatever I wanted. And they're just like, oh, fuck it, we forgot we told you that. All right? Because they're in the money now, man. They're making money. And everybody loves it, blah, 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 blah. So, and that's how he gets them to do the film. But the amazing thing about Walter is that by then, he's really tuned in. And don't forget, this is his first, Pork Chops and the Hoosgow is his first film that he really does all by himself. And it's kind of based on, well, it's based on a lot of things I told you about Stanley Kubrick's early boxing films. It has a scene that's like in Psycho, where it's in black and white and there's blood everywhere because he has to murder somebody. and he loses his innocence. It's about the loss of innocence. And again, when you're seeing what these metaphors are, you're seeing Walter coming to Los Angeles. Look at me, I lost my innocence too. Ooh, I can't get that one back. Oh boy. Right? You lose your innocence. Right? And when I wrote all this stuff for Two-Legged Animal and I went back to my mother's house and I was very wounded, I was called Zoolander, I was shit-talked, and all these friends that I thought were my friends were LARPing me, and like doing all this really childish stuff. It's like, okay, man. I don't have any, I can't get any kudos or any respect for living out on the fucking streets. You're just gonna run your mouth, but you're gonna do it all behind my back. Oh yeah, it's on now. Make no mistake about it. So that's why Walter wants to do this film, right? Because he's like, and again, that's his film. So anyways, we cut to him with Jeremy Cloud. Jeremy Cloud shows up. He's from the Anglo establishment, but nobody knows this. I'm telling you this, and I shouldn't, okay? But this is the spoiler that I'm giving you to keep you interested in this project. But he comes back and he looks like kind of a hippie. He's a hippie. He's a beatnik. He has long hair. But it's 1950. He knows about Buddhism. He knows about Hinduism. He knows all this stuff. Think about Alan Watts and how Alan Watts just kind of talks and he can just riff and he can tell you all about Buddhism. That's who this guy is. He's like the reason why Kerouac wrote Dharma Buns. They're pushing this Buddhist view. And this Buddhism also came into Buddhism and Carl Jung came into this 1950s collective unconscious, one with everything, art movement and the abstract expressionist art movement, right? So again, and we're going to be touching on that in this property as well. Okay, so that's the most important thing. It's got art, it's got politics, which is only communism versus fascism. It's all we can really have. Okay, and you know, it has music, it has all this stuff. So it's really going to be very, very beautiful project when it comes out, and it's for people who are I don't know who's after us, Gen Z. So it's the Zoomers to the Boomers. Okay. And I'm not saying Zoomers to Boomers don't play video games. We all play video games, okay? But Zoomers to Boomers also want to binge on something. They want to Netflix and chill, right? And so that's what this is. And it has a soundtrack that you can sell. The band is actually going to be a real band. Just like Fred Armisen, when he was on SNL, they were actually playing their instruments right there. You know, they were like just playing. I can't remember the name of his band. It was called Trenchmouth or something. My band was called Grievance Committee. And we played from 1985 until 1991. And in 1992, I left. I wasn't getting support. We were supposed to come out on Chaos Records, which was run by Sue Summers. Nothing ever came out. It was all just a big scene. Who's sleeping with who broke up with who. Oh, I don't like this person. I don't like that person. Well, guess what? All that stuff goes into Lionel's world. And he's Napoleon, don't forget. And so there's all this chaos going on around him, just like Napoleon, and he has to concentrate on his songs, the way Napoleon had to concentrate on running a country and uniting a country. And so, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, so back to Walter's life. And so in comes Jeremy Cloud. And they give him the book, and they're like, dude, we can't make a movie out of this book. This book is like insane. Jeremy Cloud wrote a book. He went missing for a lot of years. He came back. Now he's on Dick Cavett show. He comes out in Birkenstocks and a poncho. He's dressed like people from Paraguay. That's what he dresses like. You know, he carries around his own thermos with a leather straw. You know, like he drinks, and they ask him, well, what are you drinking in there? You having a highball? Because it's all sharkskin suits, guys. And he's like, no, this is an herbal tea. And he gets into the minutia. It's part mushrooms. He starts talking about mushrooms. You know, think of all these protein drinks that we're having today. And think about the tie-in that you could do, where you could have Jeremy Cloud's mysterious drink. That's going to be tied into the show. And think about all the soundtrack of the actual band who's playing the songs that you're going to sell on Spotify. And think about all the t-shirts that you're going to sell of all of Walter's films that are going to be like Clockwork Orange. Like seeing the kid from Blink-182 wearing a Clockwork Orange shirt, right? It's going to be the same thing. They're going to be wearing t-shirts the way people were wearing t-shirts from Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad wasn't real. I mean, I don't know, with the meth epidemic, maybe it was real, right? But they're going to have this merch and these t-shirts of the band Linoleum Blown Apart, of these fake films, but they're not going to be fake films. They're going to be real films. These films are going to be 90-minute films. Real 90-minute films. And we're going to cut into them. That's why they have to be shot first. I would think that this would be the order, okay? All the films are being shot at the same time, and then the narrative is going to be shot at the same time, filmed at the same time, I should say. You don't say shot anymore, I don't think. I'll have a shot, right? And then the editing process comes in, and then we can go do pickups. It's like, oh, hey, this creates this great idea right here. And again, this is all after it's all written out. Okay? That's why I don't care about ChatGPT for some of the dialogue. All right, we got to create the scenes. That's fine. I don't really care. And then that'll keep the production cost down as well. Okay? I'm willing to compromise on anything. Okay? I'm not on Instagram. I talk about that on my show. When you're targeted by Fed rats, they can come through the Instagram and they can come through Facebook, and they can target you, and they can crank the algorithm so high that it'll cause a disturbance. And I'm not going to be a part of that world anymore. And thank goodness. I'm only on YouTube. I'm YouTube exclusive. So I'll go ahead and leave my email in the description if you want. So, but anyway, so that was just off topic. And in case you guys can't see when people chime in, that's who I'm talking to. That's the Off Topic Show. I urge you to subscribe to his show, and he shows you what's happening on the streets. And what the next logical conclusion is what I talk about on this show. Right? That's the next logical conclusion, which is going to be death. Okay? We'll talk about that when I'm done talking about Jeremy Cloud and Walter coming together. And Jeremy Cloud dresses like he's from Peru. And then he makes his own teas, and he talks about Buddhism, and it's 1950. But again, he introduces left-handed cigarettes to Walter. Okay? Walter just got done doing pork chops in the Hoosgow. They have to try to think of what they're going to do next. And they work with the military-industrial complex. You're going to have the generals showing up. Hey, love that pork chops. Every general loves the film Pork Chops in the Hoosgow because they understand their innocence when they were a child. They probably played a sport like baseball. And all of a sudden, now that they're older and in the military, they see the corruption of this world. They see death. They see destruction. They see they have to do these battles, and they're battle hardened, basically. And that's why they love watching Pork Chops in the Hoosgow. Plus, they have to listen to their wives. Why do you think there hasn't been a nuclear annihilation? It's because it's not just the generals, but they have to listen to their wives. Their wives aren't going to let them press the button. Right? So that's why climate change is local. Don't forget I said that. Your Honor, I said what? So you have Jeremy Cloud, and they get together. And so now they have to concoct a film together. And the reason they're putting them together is the same reason why I saw on the Hollywood Fix, I saw Leo DiCaprio hanging out with Chris Rock. Chris Rock looked miserable, by the way. I just took a quick picture. I took a screenshot. It was kind of funny because you got Leo DiCaprio getting all this sweet tail, and it was like, you could tell that they're out late. And Chris Rock is like my age, so I'm in bed by 10 o'clock, guys. I would never stay out past 10 or 11 o'clock. There is no way. I would go home and go to bed. I don't care what we're doing. Unless I was, you know what I mean? But anyways, so it's similar to that, right? So these two guys are thrust together just basically through happenstance. Hey, you're a popular person. I'm a popular person. Walter's a popular person, and Jeremy Cloud's a popular person. And so the powers that be say, let's get these guys together. Okay? Let's get these guys together and see what happens. And then the military guys come together and they're like, yeah, listen, we got this little bit of an idea for you guys, right? And there's this beautiful little scene where it's just like, you know, they're just like, ugh, everybody thinks they're a filmmaker now, right? Everybody, look at me. I think I'm a filmmaker, and I know I am because I started watching these films when I was a child. Bill Kennedy at the movies in Detroit. I talk about it all the time. And I am a proud Detroiter, but apparently they don't give a shit about me. And I'll double down and triple down and quadruple down on that. You don't run game on me, son. I ain't the one. So they get together and they make 2 films. One's called A Spangled Banner. I'm sorry, The Spangled Banner. And one's called Nana Sticky Candy Dish. And what Nana Sticky Candy Dish is basically Nabokov's Lolita. Okay? It's Nabokov's Lolita. And by the way, one of my channelers, she channeled what was going to happen with the submarine. And she put it up. I'm not going to tell you her name because I don't want, I don't want like people to go to her channel and trash her channel and all that stuff. I mean, it's just really trashy. And that's what what I found a lot when I called out certain channels and stuff. Like, all of a sudden they would have these problems, and it's really just so childish, right? And again, when you participate in cancel culture, you're an accelerationist, and you don't even know what we're accelerating into. Can you take a step back for a second and start thinking about what these consequences are going to be? I wrote a song called Consequence, and that was my form of hubris. No consequence is going to dictate what I do, right? Of course it is. You write that stuff when you're young, right? So they do 2 films together. One's called The Spangled Banner. Now, when the exoteric people are going to say, well, it's a Star Spangled Banner. But when you look at the word spangled, that means there's just something on it. It's spangled. It could be spangled with sparkles, right? It could be spangled with anything. What do they call it? Flare. Put a flare on it. But we know that it's really blood. And what this film is, I shouldn't really tell you guys. I give so much away on this show. We talk about so many things here that are so much more interesting than any other shows. I took a year off and I'm watching the people say the same things. There's certain people, their brains are fucking mush. There's certain people, they come on here and they actually scroll Twitter, right? I don't do that. I'm here to share my creative process. And you could see I came up with a dozen storylines within 6 months. Some of these storylines go back to me to the 1990s. And not songs, I'm talking storylines, like the story of Lathrop, the kid who thinks he's a werewolf because he gets rabies, and nobody knows that he has rabies. Nobody knows he has rabies. And I was researching this in the BC era before computers. Powdered coffee drink. So, we're going to wrap it up. Okay? These are the only 2 films they work on together. Jeremy Cloud comes into Walter's life and they work on 2 films together that are just like Terry Southern. One is like Dr. Strangelove. It's called The Spangled Banner. One is like Lolita. It's called Nana Sticky Candy Dish. And in these films, Jeremy Cloud gives away way too much information. Wait till I get to the narrative for Nana Sticky Candy Dish. You guys are really going to like that. A Spangled Banner is about a president who's a failed, feckless president. Now, what he does... what's the name of that film? What's the name of that film? It's called The Weekend, where they go and the 2 sailors have to go pick up the sailor who went AWOL, and they have to bring him all the way back. I could look it up really quick, right? It's got one of the Carradine brothers, right? Doesn't it? Isn't it one of the Carradine brothers? Right? Possibly. Okay, so it's going to have aspects of that because the president of the United States, he has to come downstairs and give his concession speech. But he murders his campaign manager. And he goes to commit suicide, and then it fails. He has a failed suicide. He's been drinking pure grain alcohol, okay, moonshine. And that his valet, right? His valet is black, and he's the white president of the United States. This takes place in the 1950s, right? He finds that he has more in common with his valet, and that's what you're going to see develop in the film, is that the valet goes on this quest along with the couple across the street. You guys remember I was talking about the couple across the street, right? All three of them and a couple of generals go on a quest to try to find the president of the United States. He's gone. He's wasted. And what he does is he leaves a trail of bodies, and they find the dead bodies. So when this film comes out, the people in the time of the punk rockers are going to be commenting on this film, and they're going to be like, yeah, when this film came out, everyone was scared shitless. They thought that atomic bombs were going to be going off everywhere. And they're going to say, this was before Dr. Strangelove. So do you see what we're doing here? Do you see that they're still going to reference Stanley Kubrick and Dr. Strangelove, but they're going to say, yeah, but did you see the Spangled Banner? They're like, that's nothing compared to the Spangled Banner. And during the Spangled Banner, the president, he takes off with the launch codes. Because obviously, and at one point during this film, that's going to be a 90-minute film, a real 90-minute film that you're going to be able to get on demand, right? So that's added money right there. You're going to watch the series, you're going to pay for it. But if you want the bonus extras, you have to pay for them. And you can buy each one of Walter's films. Do you see how easy that is? Now you're making more money. Now you have the merch from the t-shirts. You have the soundtrack, okay, of all the punk bands. Then you also have the films of Walter that people are going to pay for on demand, and they're going to make money off that. Whoever the producers are. Do you see this? Do you see this DC Marvel universe? It's the GDI universe. The Giddy. Grievance Gordy, that's right. Thank you very much for watching my show. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. I gotta hit this button right here.